in the hell do you do with him? I mean, I made a very fair point when I told you the only way you can deal with Cain Velasquez, based on the 10 years that I have seen him fighting in the octagon and the 12 years that I have seen him fighting in total, it's knock him out. You're not going to keep up with that condition. At least we haven't seen anybody do it. You're not going to out-position him and out-hustle him and outwork him. You're not going to throw more punches, more volume, and more kick than Cain. You're not going to take him down. You're just not going to do. You're not going to hold him on the fence. There's just some things, if at least we look at the evidence of what we've seen other guys do, it's really tough to do. And no, guys, don't tweet me and tell me to see the Verdum fight. I got it. But let me make a pretty general statement here with 99% accuracy. He's just a lot to deal with. So where does he go now? Now you're telling me Cain Velasquez, a perennial not only champion but a number one contender, is now going to get back in the mix? I got a little bit of a problem with that. I mean, I have a little bit of a problem with that. I had a problem with this when John Jones was coming back right into a title fight and where people were saying, well, he doesn't deserve it. Well, if he doesn't deserve it, where does he go? Because if you're going to give him a number 7, number 8, number 9, number 12 guy as a way of punishing John, look at what you're doing to that guy. You're telling me a number 9 or 10 or 11 guy has to go deal with John Jones? Because people are upset that John's going to close out the night. No, that's a couple of sides of this to look at. So what do you do with Cain? You don't just throw him to one of the boys. You got to have a top guy. I did not have a clear answer for you or a hypothesis or a guess where the matchmaking was going to go for Cain should he win. I didn't know where he was going to go if he won. It's the same exact logjam, exact to a T, that Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley are creating. Where they're going, anybody you want except him. I got one guy and it's not him. Oh, and by the way, he happens to be the champ. So my stock can only go so far. Okay, Cain says anybody. DC says anybody. Well, except Cain. And Cain, well, except DC. Okay, great. Not a problem. Get it? Teammates, understand it. Something very coveted about that. We will respect and observe it. But when one guy's the champ and one guy's the number one contender, what in the hell do you want us to do? We won't make you fight, but what do we do? What do we do that's interesting and compelling and makes a level of sense and doesn't burn somebody else? What do we do? Creates a little bit of thought. So had Cain won, it would create some thought and some dialogue as to where does he go from here. I would love, with a win, I would love to see him against Stipe. That is assuming that Stipe is the odd man out of the championship fight and that DC is going to fight Lesnar, of which I remain bullish on, and of which, as each day goes by and that fight is not made or announced, I continue to look like a fool on. And I won't change my position. I still believe in it. I still believe in it. I will share with you guys, if any of you guys have the ability to get Brock Lesnar to answer your phone call, you have a greater relationship with Brock than I do, and I've known him since 1999. The closest I got to getting some inside scoop from Brock Lesnar was the return of a text message 14 days after I sent it, asking him if he was fighting DC, and I got a smiley face emoji. You know, the one with the wink, where it's like a semicolon, and they follow it up with the... I don't know what the hell that means, and I don't think Brock wants me to know what it means. I think Brock wants to keep me in the dark so that I can continue and come in here and speculate and keep his name out there. Because he's a smart worker. And he's annoying. It annoys the hell out of me. I feel as though it's condescending. I feel as though he should take the time for old Chael. But old Chael's got a bit of a big mouth, and if you want to keep a secret, maybe you should keep it out of my hands. Maybe that's his train of thought. Let me go back to what I was talking about. That's where I would like to see Cain go. I would like to see Cain against Stipe, and I don't know the likelihood of it. I don't know where Stipe's at negotiation-wise, and if Stipe Miocic is willing to come to the table for anything less than a world championship, I simply don't know. But I do know he's a competitor. I do know he's working hard in the gym, and I do know that if he wants back. And I do know that if somebody presented to him, okay, fine, we're going to do it your way. We're going to give you Daniel Cormier. However, our way is to not give you Daniel Cormier, so we're going to meet in the middle. You're going to fight Cain, and if you beat him, we guarantee you the shot. If there was something like this done, I think that Stipe would play along. I think. Now let's go back. Let's rework this because now Cain has lost. So what do you do with him? You cannot just throw him in the mix. It's simply not fair. You're in a little bit of a jam. The division has just been halted a little bit. What would be perfect? A Stipe coming off of a loss. Now a Cain coming off of a loss. 2 former champions. Maybe we just solved the problem. Maybe my initial idea of Cain coming off a win and going in against Stipe now makes even more sense. Maybe. And let me tell you guys what else would make sense. If the knee's okay, and if you looked at this Francis Ngannou, because that's a problem too. What do you do with Francis? I mean, don't forget, that's a little bit of a problem. Francis versus DC sells and it draws. It's not ultra competitive and it doesn't sell ultra big and it doesn't draw ultra huge. But it works. It does check those boxes. To give Ngannou a world title shot and not give it to Stipe when those guys met up head-to-head, I think that perhaps you have a little bit of a conflict. We see conflicts in this sport all the time, and you can work around them. But generally, we're only willing to work around them when there is that mega draw ability, of which that one's not. It's not. It's good. It's just a tough sell to convince us that Francis could. It's just a little bit tougher sell. It would need a little bit of work. And it does work. But it would require some effort. I will tell you the solution. Now that I've given you all this time to guess, and I don't know that we're going to get it, because I don't know where the knee's at. But when a fight like that takes place and it throws an entire division into a bit of a frenzy, oh my gosh, what do we do now? You rematch them. You rematch Cain and Ngannou. You take the storyline. You take Ngannou's side of saying, I put him down with an uppercut. You take Cain's side of saying, hey, my knee buckled and the ref had to step in and stop it. I'm ready, you're ready. Here's my ranking, here's your ranking. We switch spots. You got your hand raised fair and square. I'll see you at Madison Square Garden. That is a way that you solve the problem. There are many ways to skin this cat. I am not coming out and giving you a prediction of this is what's going to happen. I'm telling you what the playbook of promotion would say that you do when you're faced with this spot that you did not think you were going to be faced with. When you have venues booked out for the balance of 2019, and when you were assuming that Cain Velasquez was going to come back, roar right up back in the people's hearts and minds to the top of the division and be able to headline one of those venues of which you have a hold on. And all of a sudden, falls. What do you do? Correct answer, you run it back. You have them fight again. And that only happens, by the way, the playbook I'm referring to only happens if there is a dialogue in the narrative. Ultimately, the fans decide. But if we just can't figure this one out, and some fans think that there was a big uppercut here, and the other fans think that there was a buckled knee, and now the whole division's in peril, and DC is going to go fight with Lesnar. Oh, and by the way, allow me to go back to that. Dana White came out and he had a very big clue. Francis Ngannou said that he would like to fight DC. Yeah, sure. Of course he does. World champion. Why wouldn't he? I get it, and I respect it. Got no problem with that. But this is what he said he'd like to do, and Dana took the time to weigh in on that. Dana took the time to weigh in on that, and he said, and I quote, no, we have another fight for DC. Okay, well, that's a big clue, because that would have been a tremendous opportunity to say it's going to be Brock Lesnar. Not generally how the UFC would roll out a fight like that, but also not extremely like Dana to touch a topic at all unless he wants the story out there. He would generally play it with a poker face and say something along the lines of, let's see what happens. He was pretty clear to say, no, we have something else in mind for Daniel Cormier, and Ngannou is not going to get that shot. Okay, great. What is it? Because there's only two guys. There's Brock Lesnar and there's Stipe Miocic. The problem with concluding that it's Stipe, and a lot of you have, I get constant pushback. Chael, you're a sucker. You're being a sucker. You keep saying this Lesnar thing's going to happen. You're being a sucker. Well, we will find out, and I will fully acknowledge that that is one option. that Chael's being a sucker. But I am doing this, I'm forming this hypothesis based on some evidence and based on some clues. If they have a fight planned or hoped for or penciled in for Daniel Cormier, they would have certainly let his opponent in on that. Certainly Daniel would know, as would his opponent. Daniel Cormier hasn't said very much lately, which is generally what guys do when they've got an announcement that they were told not to announce. Very in line. Stipe Miocic is being very loud and very vocal, saying he wants to fight Daniel Cormier, which is not in line with a guy who has already been called and said, you're getting Daniel Cormier. It's just not in line. So based on that, I'm taking Stipe out by process of elimination. If it's down to Stipe and Lesnar, as I believe that it is, it leaves you with Lesnar. It wasn't some great, I will admit to you guys now that you've heard the story, this wasn't some great level of research by me. But I am somebody that follows the sport, and these are the clues that I'm being given. In conjunction with the smiley face emoji. So there we are. DC versus Lesnar. Hopefully on the same card. Cain versus Stipe. That's the fan in me talking. I don't know if I'm going to get that one. But that's where I would like to see things go.